Hello and welcome to the Unusual Stories podcast. My name is Wojciech Salski and I'm going to be your host for today. As per usual, I will share with you some insights and ideas and thoughts regarding one of the books we are reviewing. And hopefully I'll inspire you to read the book in the first place, maybe listen to it on Audible or even check it out on Blinkist with a very shorter version of the book itself, the key points, so to speak, and basically inspire you to maybe change something about your life, make it better, and just think about things that are worth thinking about. So before we start, I just wanted to remind you as well, it is obviously a great help from your side if you can share this episode with someone, if you can give me a comment below or review. Feel free to also reach out to me if you have any suggestions for books to review in the future, or maybe how are you liking the new format with me actually speaking in front of a camera. Soon enough, I will have my new room adjusted to be a podcast studio. So hopefully there won't be as many clothes in the background, and there will be much more interesting and podcast facing experience for you to imagine there. And other than that, of course, if you want to support me financially, that's always very welcomed. Obviously, I'm working full time. I'm also studying at the moment. So it is always with great pleasure that I get some coffee money to support myself as I do it, because this is my passion and I would like at some point in the future for it to be my full-time job. So without further ado, today we will be discussing a book that I've recently encountered and read called The Body Code: Unlocking Your Body's Ability to Heal Itself by Dr. Bradley Nelson. And this is one of the books that actually is inspired, and the practice of Mr. Nelson is inspired by the book we've previously talked about called Letting Go by David Hawkins, and even more so by the book Power versus Force of the same author, Mr. David Hawkins. So I hope that as we dive deeper, you will see some similarities from that book I've just mentioned, and just the idea behind it. I'll explore this book a little bit. I'll give you a few points that the book makes. I will reflect on it from my perspective, and at the end of it all, I will give you some challenge and idea to ponder and maybe engage with over the next week. So hopefully this will give you a good taste of whether or not this book is for you, and whether or not this is something worth thinking about. And ultimately, as long as you become a bit more open-minded, or maybe considerate of some of the ideas we've discussed here, this is a job well done from my side. So yeah, let's get to it. So first and foremost, a little background about the story. So Mr. Nelson is a trained chiropractor. He also studied traditional medicine of the East, and many very traditional, non-contemporary, one could say, medicinal practices of the years, especially in the past, and sort of the traditional going back long ago. And when it comes to the thesis that he poses in this book, apart from giving us some pointers later on how to engage with this practice he offers, he claims that our traditional medicine, which has been with the human species for generations on end, is much better at treating the causes of our illnesses, rather than our contemporary medicine these days, which tends to focus mostly on healing the symptoms and being a sort of band-aid approach, instead of actually fixing the root cause of the situation, eliminating the root cause of our suffering. So this trouble with medicine these days, something that I can also relate to, and I will elaborate on that in a moment. It seems to me that as we progress with more and more, scientifically based medicine based on a lot of pharmaceutical companies treating our symptoms, and not only symptoms and causes, we seem to be focused much more on the short-term solutions rather than the long-term. And as many might point out to you, doctors are no longer really looking holistically at someone's state. Rather, they focus on one thing. So you call up a doctor, you have an appointment, and they look at your skin on your face and give you something to treat your acne. But they might not even consider whether or not this is something that is connected with your gut health or your kidney not really doing well. So the background here and the idea that Mr. Nelson puts forward in the book is that actually the holistic approach is much more efficient and effective in treating the disease, because it's actually all interconnected, and we can tap into this more root-based cause when we explore it in a deeper context, which we'll discuss in a moment, instead of looking at symptoms on their own separately. So instead of dissecting the person into smaller pieces like a puzzle, we try to make the big picture overview and then decide what are we going to do about it. So when it comes to my own story and background, I've recently been for the first time at a chiropractor. I have some trouble with my lower back. This is due to the fact that I just sit a lot. I sit at uni, I sit at work, I sit when I write my own stuff, I sit when I record the podcast, and I am considering obviously buying myself a stand-up desk. And I used to have one which was made of boxes throughout the pandemic, so I should probably get back on that idea. But for the most part, even though I do a lot of sports, especially jiu-jitsu, which is very mobility based, I still find myself struggling with my lower back. And so I went to a chiropractor recently for the first time. And after a very thorough examination and some exercises, he pointed out to me that this is not one size fits all, and the root cause of the problem lies in a minute little things that I'm doing on a daily basis, and I just need to include those in a routine of maintenance to keep my body in shape. And this will vary across different people when it comes to the different injuries and troubles we have. I had to buy myself a different desk chair. I had to, and I still do exercises daily to stretch my lower back in a particular manner. And it's not the same manner that my father uses, which actually was one of the first points that the chiropractor made, that we're not supposed to use someone else's recipe, we should develop our own with the help of specialists. And that was my first encounter with a chiropractor, but I did participate before in a treatment with a traditional medicine woman from, I believe, Mongolia, who only looked at my tongue and took a measure of my pulse with her hand to then deduct what is wrong with me and suggest some changes through herbal treatment of some sort. And I actually think it helped me. I cannot really prove you with statistics how it helped me, but I've been, touch wood, healthy over the past year, and I've been feeling very, very good, especially over the months that I've been treated by that woman. And so I suggested it to many of my friends. My mom uses her support, and my father as well. So there is definitely something to be said about traditional and more non-contemporary medicine, if you'd like to try it at some point. So when it comes to the book, the main point, very similar to the point made by Mr. Hawkins in his book, Letting Go and Power versus Force, is that the subconscious mind of ourselves, the subconscious body, because it actually extends to most, also body and mind, if you consider mind to be separate, understands it all. So the idea there is that all the things we need to know, whether about the world or about ourselves, are to be found within us, which is something that definitely resonates with some of the Bible texts that you might hear or other scriptures from the past, that all you need to know is within you already. And the practice of the body code by Mr. Bradley Nelson points out this idea. Sorry for the ambulance in the background. Points out this idea that by understanding how to interact with our subconscious body through sort of a testing method, which are a few, and I don't want to really elaborate on them right now here. I would rather you check them out in the book itself or in one of the videos by Mr. Hawkins or others. There are some particular practices that can make you understand a bit more and interact with this subconsciousness of yours. And if you do them successfully, you can figure out things that will make sense and get you on the right side and get you the right solution. So the body code is written as a practical guide to unlock the body's ability to heal yourself and to unlock skills that will help you figure it out for yourself. Of course, there are practitioners of the body code around the world, mostly in the United States and spreading, and you can look them up and see them for this traditional idea to see for yourself how it works. And there is many people saying it actually helped them tremendously. For myself, I've tried healing myself with the body code a few times, and I do think I'm feeling better, but yet again, I don't really have any proof. I've been using much more of traditional practices though for the past year and a half, 2 years, cold water immersion, meditation, gratitude of any kind, and certain different practices, including, as I said before, medicine, traditional medicine of the East. So I'm definitely one of those people that would say it works. But yet again, I don't really have any proof for you apart from saying I feel great. And maybe that's the whole point, right? If you want to keep yourself healthy, whatever works for you to keep yourself healthy probably works. So I don't want to also diminish any other approaches. This is just one of my own. So the idea there is that through energy, as we are all made of energy particles, energy healing is the healing that you need to go through. And this is what the body code suggests you do through a series of practices and some guides and some PDFs annotated in the book as well that allow you to track down your symptoms to their causes and then to eliminate the cause and to get your body back in balance. Because if you know what's the etymology of the word dis-ease, to be diseased is to be out of ease, so out of balance. So the whole idea here is to get you back into balance, whatever that means. I guess the third thing here to point out, and the most important thing that really to me speaks loads, and I can see myself being skeptical still about this part. And as I've been exploring this book with my girlfriend, at some point I noticed that she was starting to get even more skeptical as we went, is that the trick of this trade is to believe in it. And I guess that's where faith is not the easy part, right? But it's necessary if you want to make changes in a way that is not necessarily explicable in a scientific, the way that we perceive it way. That's a mouthful. So basically the idea here is that this tradition of ages is maybe not something we're connected with on a daily basis these days. We're conditioned to think in numbers and statistics and logical, whatever that logical might be, sense, which is why faith here and believing the process and trusting and going through it and maybe stumbling upon some blocks every now and then is an essential part of actually accessing this healing method. So I cannot really say whether I've gone that far with it or not. I have days that I come back to it. I have days that I forget it. I know it worked loads for me in terms of the letting go book, which I've already emphasized in one of the other episodes, which you love one of the most. It's actually one of the top 3 episodes on my platform, which speaks for itself, I think. I think some books have power just in general. But in that sense, I can tell you that there are many miracles happened to me over the past years because of the way I've sort of shifted my focus and my energy. But when it comes to the body code, it is still quite fresh. So I would suggest you explore it for yourself if you're interested, and I would love to hear the results. And I may do another episode in the future about my results going forward. So this is what I wanted to say about the book itself. I have some quotes for you before we jump into the challenge part. One of the quotes that really spoke to me is, "It is through thought, belief, and intention that all things happen." And secondly, anyone can learn to get answers from the body, and anyone can tail, and anyone can take the necessary. Anyone can learn to get answers from the body, and anyone can take the necessary. So I guess both of those are speaking through the idea behind the book, which is to understand your own system well, to understand your subconscious body and what it wants to tell you, and to engage with it in a manner that makes your life easier, healthier, and better over time. So, when it comes to the challenge and an idea behind this episode, I was struggling to figure out what is it, because apart from obviously inviting you to explore the book for yourself and maybe then deciding whether or not you want to give yourself a challenge of understanding the theory behind it, or actually practicing it and seeing the results, the way that we usually do with challenges is, I want to give you a call to action. I want to give you something that you can take forth for your next few days and hopefully make it something worthwhile for your life. And I think here, the biggest challenge that I can think of in terms of its impact on one's life is to have a think over the next few days, over the next few weeks even. Are there any practices in the day, or are there any traditional ways of doing things that you've been doing or considered doing that can improve or are improving your life? And if there are those, consider, why are they working? Try to figure it out, because you might find that it's not so easy in terms of our logical mind to explain them. You know, my grandma told me some years ago that her grandma told her to eat apples, including the seeds and the middle, you know, not to throw out anything of an apple, to eat it whole. And that is because in all that inner parts, there is a huge power of healing and apparently some nutrients that are very, very useful for us. And of course, I bet by now there are some studies about this, although I have not read them. But it does make me feel better to eat it like that. And I've been doing it ever since. So, as silly as it may sound, and maybe, you know, funny thing is, it's easier for me because I don't need to find the bin after I finish an apple. But as silly as it may sound, it definitely, the mere fact of believing this, I have no doubt is actually impacting my health in a different way. So, in the same way you eat something as a fast food and you know it's a fast food, and you're probably feeling slightly guilty or slightly worried how is it gonna affect your health in the long run. The same way, if you're eating something very healthy, I can imagine you're also feeling the feelings and emotions of being healthy and vital and strong. And this is I guess, the part of what the body code tries to emphasize. It's a subjective experience of the mind, and it's all energy. So whatever energy you're bringing into your life and whatever energy you're giving out to life is what drives you and your body's inner work. So have a think whether or not you have some of those beliefs, traditions, habits that are not necessarily grounded in science as we know it right now, and yet they are actually helping you in some way. And if there are some like that, if there is even one, then maybe consider to read the book, because that might be why this book will also speak to you. And if you're a person of faith in whatever, in whatever you consider yourself to be believing in, maybe other than your own ability to know, count or read, I think it's worth to explore it, because there is, in my opinion, a great power in this book, and I think we're gonna see it in the listens. You know, I noticed, this is a side note, I noticed that the books such as The Letting Go and Tibetan Book of Living and Dying that I've reviewed 2 years ago or 1 year ago are the two top most listened to episodes of my podcast by far, like by hundreds of listens more than any other, which it sounds crazy, coincidental, but also I don't believe it is. I believe that if I would suddenly review the Bible or the Quran or another maybe Krishna story, another book that is one of those powerful over the ages spiritual book, I have no doubt it would attract a similar greater attention than all the other episodes and things. So yeah, that's just what I believe. So other than that, thank you so much for listening. As I mentioned before, if you'd like to support me in any way or let me know how you like it, the episode or the story or the background, feel free to let me know. I would be most privileged to get it. Have a wonderful week. As always, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.